Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Gaming News, where we discuss all things in the gaming industry. But before we get into today's topics, I want to say Happy New Year, and I hope that the holiday season was really good, because I believe this is the first gaming news that I have done for 2022, and I'm going to cover one or two things that came from before the starting of the new year and sort of carried over. And then I'm going to go into a couple of things that have been recent developments to sort of top it all off and to sort of do everything. Now, there are a number of different things that I could have covered for this video, but I want to maintain a relatively short video of only a maximum of half an hour for all of you at home. So I'm only going to cover a couple of topics today, which include Riot, Humble Bundle, Twitch, NFTs, and PUBG. So with all of that said, let's get right into the first topic, which is, of course, Riot Games. Now, Riot, you may be familiar, has been sued because of the blatant sexism that has been rampant within the game studio, as well as many AAA games companies. And this is obviously apparent through several different articles, like this one from Kotaku back in November of last year, or not last year, sorry, in 2018, when current and former employees first sued Riot Games for gender discrimination. Then later, they released the Inside the Culture of Sexism at Riot Games, which is an incredibly pivotal piece that was released in 2018, but still remained to persist through the last couple of years of the rampant sexism in that particular company. And then we come to the most recent article that I came across, which is Riot Game reaches a final settlement, hopefully, of $100 million in that gender discrimination lawsuit from 2018. So clearly, this takes a lot of time to go through. And in this article, they cover the fact that a class action lawsuit was filed back in 2018, and now Riot has agreed to pay $80 million to members of the class action lawsuit and another $20 million in attorneys' fees and miscellaneous expenses for a total of $100 million. This global settlement spans from 2014 to present and includes all current and former full-time employees as well as temporary contracts in California who identify as women. The settlement is currently awaiting court approval. Now, they did agree to having third party approved by both the company and the DFEH, which we've covered significantly within the Activision Blizzard lawsuits, because the DFEH is currently suing Activision Blizzard as well as the EEOC. You can go take a look at those videos later. Anyways, this is a great day for the women of Riot Games and for women at all video game and tech companies who deserve a workplace that is free of harassment and discrimination, said Jeannie Harrison, the plaintiff's counsel, in an official statement. We appreciate Riot's introspection and work since 2018 towards becoming a more diverse and inclusive company, its willingness to take responsibility for its past, and its commitment to continued fairness and equality in the future. The article does, of course, go on with respect to this, but we did previously cover the fact that Riot Games had originally reached a settlement within the lawsuit, and a lot of the people felt that the amount of money that was awarded was just simply not enough to cover all of the people that were affected by the gender discrimination. And the fact that this class action lawsuit has reached a settlement of $100 million makes me feel a little bit better that more people will be taken care of and will be properly compensated for what they've endured over the last few years. But either way, this still has to be approved, and hopefully the court will approve this settlement and that Riot Games can put itself back onto the map as hopefully a AAA company that people will want to continue to work for and or simply go and work for, as opposed to being subjected to all of the dumpster fire that is Activision Blizzard. So hopefully this goes through and we will keep an eye on this particular situation. But I would love to know what you guys think about the whole thing, if you've been following the lawsuit of Riot Games, and if you feel like $100 million is enough to cover all of the fees over several years of discrimination, or if it's simply not enough. I'm just very curious to see where people are coming from on that particular topic. Next up, we have Humble Bundle. Now, the Humble Bundle package has always been attractive to people far and wide in the gaming industry, where you pay a monthly fee and you would have a variety of 10 to 12 games or something that you would be able to choose from, that you want to have codes for, that you can either use for giveaways or that you yourself can play a wide variety of titles, and a portion of the money that is given to Humble Bundle is given to charities. Well, recently Humble decided to announce an update, which was on the 11th of January, stating that the Humble Choice is leveling up starting in February. So, beginning on the 1st, we'll be offering just one plan that gets you all of the games we've picked out for the month for only $11.99 US, and your regional pricing will vary. No more limiting which games you want from the bunch. Every month, every game is yours to own forever. So they talk about a couple of different things to sort of go alongside that. The first is they're introducing the Humble Games collection, which gives choice members an entirely new way to play. The Humble Bundle Games Collection, an ever growing curated library of games you can access and enjoy while you're a choice member. In the Humble Games Collection, you'll find a community and critical favorites you might have missed, and find lots of good fun to return to again and again. So, starting in February, the debut titles that will be added to the collection are Forager, Wizard of Legend, Dodgeball Academia, Unsighted, and Void Bastards. Now, there are obviously some stipulations, but you can go check that out on the blog page. And then they've also decided to announce a couple of other things. So, also in the new Humble app, which will also be available, you will find more than 50 DRM free indie games, experimental oddities, and other experiences inside the vault, which you can download while you're a member and keep playing even after your membership ends. If you're familiar with the current Humble Trove, the vault is where you'll find many of your old Trove favorites after February 1st. So if you are currently a Humble subscriber, make sure that you take a look at the vault, because it sounds like the Humble Trove is going to be either renamed or ported into this vault. They're also going to be offering exclusive discounts while you are a part of the program, or if you're not yet part of the program, what things you can do. And of course, they are continuing to benefit charities, with 5% of your monthly choice memberships will be donated to a variety of different charities, and they'll share more about February's featured charity of the month in the coming weeks. So I feel like they're moving in the right direction, although I'm a little confused because I believe that Humble Bundle used to be that they would offer 10 titles per month that you would just get. And then they changed it so that you would have the choice between some of those titles, but you wouldn't be able to get all of them, which is in the current system. So if you wanted to have all of the games each month, maybe for giveaways or whatever purposes you might have for those things, or you just want to benefit those charities, now you will get more bang for your buck, essentially. So hopefully, this is a good change for people who are humble members. And I would love to know what you guys think about some of these changes and what you're looking forward to, and if any of those titles are maybe attractive to you for the Humble Games collection, or the fact that there is the app, which is going to be just a game changer, I think, in my opinion. So I'd love to know your thoughts on that particular thing. But we are going to move swiftly along into the next topic, which is Twitch. Now, Twitch has a couple of moving parts, as always. And the first sort of begins with the wave of DMCA claims that have sort of happened in the last week or so. The Twitch meta recently has been that many streamers have decided, erroneously, I might add, to watch TV shows or animes while they are streaming and barely being transformative or anything like that, with which to have sort of like reaction videos similar to what YouTube would be doing. And there are very particular rules when it comes to DMCA and copyright laws, when it comes to streaming platforms, and when it comes to just live platforms or content creation platforms. And so the first one, of course, this should be no surprise to anybody. Pokimane was banned on Twitch after streaming Avatar The Last Airbender, and it's probably because of the DMCA claim. So she is one of the most popular streamers on Twitch with over 8.5 million followers and decided to stream this animated series. Now, this caused a lot of controversy as a few people on Twitter decided to jump to her defense, saying that her agent or the people, the team that she is part of, should have warned their streamers that there was potential if they jumped on the bandwagon of playing anime or video or whatever on their stream without it being transformative or without getting the proper rights, that they could be faced with a DMCA strike and that they might be fined or potentially jailed because of the infringements, especially if they've done this more frequently. So, this is something that is massively huge across the industry, where people thought that only music would be the problem when it came to DMCA takedowns and whatnot, but that's simply not the case here. So she is facing a ban, and she talked about it on Twitter, and of course, the TV meta has been popularized by a number of different people, where they have been streaming things like MasterChef. And while we're on the topic of MasterChef and being DMCA striked, Hassan has also been taken down by the very same DMCA issue because he decided to stream MasterChef. And on top of that, the particular episode he ended up streaming apparently also showed a particular body part that should not have obviously been streamed because that breaks Twitch's terms of service. Now, you would think that being some of the top streamers on Twitch that you would know that terms of service dictate you cannot do certain things, which includes things like piracy. Now, there is a bit of a gray area when it comes to video games because while we can stream video games to Twitch, often it's very 50-50 whether or not the game companies are going to allow it to happen. So, for example, certain maybe Nintendo games will be automatically taken down. On YouTube, there are a lot of people that have DMCA strikes against them because they have played too much Nintendo content, that Nintendo went after those content creators and said, you cannot use our property for your stuff because it's not transformative, it doesn't follow this, etc., so on and so forth. And other video games like Cyberpunk and Life is Strange have music that is used, that is, properly licensed to be used in the video game, but it's not necessarily licensed to be streamed by other people who are sort of consuming the product. And because of that, it has caused this gray area where now more and more video games are enabling a streamer mode where there will be streamer safe music that will not be DMCA striked if you were on Twitch or on YouTube to showcase those games. And if you play them solo, then you can do a non-streamer friendly and listen to the licensed music in the game because you're not using it in a way to make money and therefore gypping the company of whatever profits they may generate. And so people decided that, well, since video games can be in a gray area, but mostly you can stream video games, they figured maybe we can just stream watching TV instead, which of course is not okay because, again, you don't have the rights. And this led to a hilarious interaction between Gordon Ramsay and one of the contestants on MasterChef, because one of the contestants on MasterChef is a content creator, and she explained to him, this is what I do for sort of a full-time job, and he responds with, what the fuck is Twitch? And it's interesting that there was that interaction. I'm very curious to know what the timing of the recording of that episode was versus the timing of the main company taking down Twitch streamers for watching MasterChef shows on their Twitch stream while they're still able to get subscribers and whatnot, especially since both of these people are partnered streamers and they're big partnered streamers. And the reality of the situation is that you cannot just stream whatever the hell you want, assuming that everything is going to be okay. You have to be very particular. So, the fact that both of these people were banned from Twitch, at least temporarily, doesn't surprise me, and it disgusts me that we have to continue to talk about DMCA and how greedy companies can be when it comes to content creation, but at the same time, content creators really need to wake up and pay attention to what the realities of the world are, because you can't just get away with everything. And hopefully these two learn their lesson, but who knows? They're just going to jump on the next big bandwagon and potentially make money that way. So I don't know what comes of this. But again, I would love to pass the question to you. What do you think about the DMCA takedowns? What do you think about Pokimane and Hassan being hit by it? And of course, they're not the only ones. They're just the two most prominent ones that I wanted to talk about today. Anyways, on to the next topic. I hate to say it, but we have to talk once again about NFTs. Now, earlier in the week, many of us on Twitter saw the support that NFTs gained from popular musicians like Mike Shinoda, who has done extensive research into NFTs. And of course, the gaming industry is very much against NFTs because a lot of it doesn't make sense. A lot of people have just not really explained how this is supposed to revolutionize the industry. And there are multitudes of other gaming personalities out there who have discussed the fact that NFTs are not good and how much it will drastically change the industry and not for the better. NFTs really don't feel any better than loot boxes. And the difference here is that you have a digital copy of something if you're lucky when it comes to NFTs, whereas with loot boxes, well, you still have a digital copy of something, at least you physically see what those things are. Where NFTs, there's no guarantee you're going to see anything from it, and it is much easier to be scammed. And if you're going to be against loot boxes, like many of us are, you should also therefore be against NFTs because this is also extremely exploitative. So, with that, we've had other big name people in the industry, just in general, jumping on the NFT bandwagon. And if it wasn't for people like Mike Shinoda, then you can just look at this tweet, which is Troy Baker, who is known for The Last of Us Part 2 being Joel, and several other major roles that he has played as a voice actor, an incredibly well versed voice actor, has partnered with VoiceVerse NFT to explore ways where together we might bring new tools to new creators to make new things and allow everyone a chance to own and invest in the IPs they create. And this, of course, was met with a lot of backlash because there, of course, are several different articles talking about this, and I have selected two of them. The first being Fanbyte, where Troy Baker, the voice actor you probably know from Joel in The Last of Us or Snow from the Final Fantasy 13 series, has had a loud morning today after announcing at 1 a.m. Eastern that he was entering a partnership to make NFTs, specifically with VoiceVerse NFT, which makes voice NFTs. Its official site describes this as providing an ownership to a unique voice in the metaverse. So he talked about it, and a lot of people reacted on Twitter, as you can see on the screen here. And it ended up being that he realized that he had a lot more things to think about, that maybe he didn't do as much research as possible, and how this may not be the best thing for gaming. So, in the early hours, Baker's follow up thread was posted 9 hours later. In it, he says he appreciated people giving him a lot to think about. He then goes on to say that he's a storyteller who is trying to tell his story through lending his voice to AI voice generators for people to pay money for. He also admitted the hate and create section of his announcement was antagonistic and a bad attempt to bring levity. So that's not really anything. Baker's original tweet is still live, and he hasn't said anything about whether or not he's going to get out of whatever agreement he's signed up for, but he has much to consider. Now, hopefully, that will change his mind because, of course, backlash has come from multiple different gaming companies. With Ubisoft Quartz, we have talked about. Stalker 2 talked about being jumping on the NFT bandwagon and then saying that they're going to delay their game because they want to make sure it's proper, but we're really wondering whether or not they're thinking back on whether or not the NFT venture is a good idea. We've also seen Square Enix has made an announcement right at the beginning of the new year saying that they were interested in jumping on the NFT bandwagon, and it has even extended as far as Me6, the very popular Discord bot, is also looking into NFTs. And if we don't stop this soon, I feel like it's going to blow up more in the gaming industry, and it just doesn't look good, in my opinion. So, along with that, with the Troy Baker situation, there was an IGN article where the NFT debate seems like it's going to be major games industry talking point in 2022 because Square Enix president noted that he was exploring them in the New Year's letter addressed to the fans. It also follows up the Ubisoft courts. It also follows EA's claims of NFTs being an important part of the future. And Sega also hopped on to the NFT bandwagon, but says it will drop plans if fans see it as simply money making, quote unquote. And while the industry does seem to be pushing into the field, it hasn't stopped fans from fighting back. Stalker 2's developers canceled its own NFT plans in less than an hour after the backlash. So it stands to reason that NFTs are not being taken well by the greater industry, and there are a lot of gaming personalities who are just looking at the gaming industry like they want to go back to the good old days and not supporting any of the companies moving forward, because if all of them jump onto this bandwagon and further gouging us with microtransactions, with season passes, with loot boxes, with NFTs, with everything else going on while we're still going through this pandemic where people are suffering, trying to make money and being safe at the same time, it feels like the world is kind of imploding, and it's not really a good place to be. And gaming is supposed to be an escape measure for a lot of people, and if gaming keeps going the way of the dodo and forcing players to pay more and more and more for more content through DLCs or whatever else, it's going to drive people away in droves, and the entertainment industry, from a video game perspective, is going to suffer drastically unless we see some properly implemented changes. So, I'm curious to see where that goes and if we're able to stop it before it really picks up more steam, but I have to say it's a little scary out there, and I don't want NFTs as much as anybody else, but this is just insanity. The last thing I'd like to cover is PUBG. Now, this will be relatively quick, as IGN released an article today saying that PUBG developer Krafton has filed a lawsuit against mobile developer Garena, as well as both Apple and Google, over two mobile games that the developer believes copies its popular online shooter. As detailed in a lawsuit filed by the company and spotted by The Verge, Krafton has accused Apple and Google of distributing a blatant infringing mobile version of Battlegrounds developed by Garena on their mobile app stores. So they're going after Free Fire and Free Fire Max that you can get as free to play games through the Apple and the Google Play stores. And in the lawsuit, Krafton argues that the two games extensively copy numerous aspects of Battlegrounds, including the game's copyrighted unique game opening airdrop feature, as well as a combination and selection of weapons, armor, and unique object locations, and the overall choice of color schemes, materials, and texture in the game. Now, in the lawsuit, they provided side by side samples of Battlegrounds versus Free Fire and how there are similarities. and that's with the melee weapon as well as the indestructible armor. And I'm sure there is more proof than just those two particular ones. But what's interesting here is PUBG is not the first shooter to use the frying pan as a weapon. There are multiple other games that have been around since before PUBG that has used improvised weapons like this. And the fact that more video games are being conscious of different types of weapons or improvised weapons, especially when it comes to a shooter like this, where you very much are trying to survive other people trying to kill you. It's not a new concept, so I'm very curious to see where this goes. But either way, according to the lawsuit, Crafton has previously made contact with Garena over the games in question. On or about December 21st, 2021, Crafton demanded that Garena immediately stop its exploitation of Free Fire and Free Fire Max, reads the lawsuit, which goes on to state that Garena refused the request. The lawsuit also takes aim at YouTube, which is owned by Google, stating that it has asked the company to remove numerous posts that feature Free Fire and Free Fire Max gameplay. The lawsuit also specifies a live action movie titled Bew Bew Bew, which Crafton says is nothing more than a blatant infringing live action dramatization of Battlegrounds. To date, the lawsuit claims YouTube has failed to remove the posts. And while the lawsuit is currently continuing and may be the most recent one to have been filed against PUBG, it isn't the only recent court case to have made news surrounding the game. Last week, members of a hacking group known for creating cheats for PUBG Mobile were ordered to pay $10 million in damages by federal courts in the US. Following the legal victory, the developers noted that it would be reinvesting the money into anti cheat technology for the game. I mean, on that last point, all the more power to them that they have this sort of influx of money from that second lawsuit, because cheating, especially when it comes to shooters such as PUBG or CSGO or any of the other ones, is rampant and it can be difficult to really get rid of. And the fact that they're going to reinvest it in their game to try and combat the situation is not necessarily a bad thing. But the fact that they're going to go after a developer for creating a mobile free to play version, and the fact that PUBG is now a free to play game, says that the reason why it went free to play is not because of the influence of Fortnite or Apex Legends, which are both major competitors to PUBG, as there are many more players to both Fortnite and Apex Legends. But I'm just really interested to see what happens with this if Garena actually ends up being in the wrong, and if they really did infringe upon the rights of Crafton enough that they will be potentially successful in court or not. But again, I'm curious to get your thoughts and opinions on this. Do you think that Crafton will win the lawsuit against Garena for their free to play mobile games, or do you think that it's just another shooter and that it follows similar principles across the games? I'd also love to know your opinions about any of the previous topics, like the NFTs, or about the DMCA claims and the TV meta, or Riot, or even Humble Choice, what you think about all of these topics. I would love to know what you guys are thinking about all of these things. And with that, thank you so much for being part of the Patreon. Welcome to 2022. Hopefully, this year will be better than the last one. And next week, we will be back on track with all of our regular videos, and I will be going forward with more Let's Tries and other gaming content. So, Let me know how things are going, if you have goals for 2022 and all of that great stuff. Don't forget to continue to follow me on all social media. You can find me on Twitch, you can find me on Twitter, of course on Patreon, and on YouTube. And don't forget to join my Discord. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.